Shabbat Shalom. I'm now back from Israel almost 6 weeks and still basking in the glow of that experience, as one inevitably does when one has been to such a special place as Israel. Israel inevitably is a place of spiritual pilgrimage, just because of the nature of the land and the history there. So many great events have happened in the past, world-changing events, and so many great and world-changing events are happening there even today. So inevitably, when one goes to Israel, it's a kind of spiritual pilgrimage. It's inescapable, regardless of how spiritual or religious you may or may not be. And so great things happened when we were there, even in the short space of time that we were there. And I want to share with you one last really significant event. And that was one in which we weren't even directly witnessing, because we happened to be in a different part of the country at that time. We had headed north as Prime Minister Stephen Harper and the Canadian delegation of 250 that came with him were coming into Israel. So we didn't see him or anybody from Winnipeg or anybody from Canada. We were busy in the north part of the country. But still, we were reading the newspapers and I would say feeling great pride as Canadians in that Prime Minister Harper said all good stuff to the Israelis and created quite a stir in the Israeli media. In fact, the joke was that had Prime Minister Harper decided to run for Israeli Prime Minister at that moment, he surely would have been elected. He had a dramatic impact on the entire Israeli public. And we were reading about it in the newspaper. So as our trip was winding down, this was after the Canadians had all left, we were in Tel Aviv and picked up a newspaper about the visit. And in the Jerusalem Post, dated January 26th, there was a very interesting article, which I wanted to share with you, by Neil Rogachevsky. And this is what he has to say. It's official. Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper is the #1 Israelophile among world leaders. In truth, at least since George W. Bush has been gone, Harper has merited the title, pulling Canada from its previous self-imagined status as an honest broker in an unabashedly pro-Israel direction. But in his speech this week in the Knesset, Harper outdid even himself. He reaffirmed Canada's commitment to sanctions against Iran and hinted at his contempt for an Iran policy based on their pledges rather than concrete activities. He condemned boycotts in no uncertain terms. He called Israel a bastion of freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. He praised Israel as the home of the Jewish people. A cynic might say that this is all part of the Conservative Party's minority outreach strategy, which did succeed in turning Jewish ridings that had never voted for a party other than the Liberal Party of Canada conservative in the 2011 elections. But even still, no minority outreach policy requires the extent of Harper's passion. Few political figures, Israeli or otherwise, have said anything quite like this, and I quote, "Most disgracefully of all, some openly call Israel an apartheid state." Think about that. Think about the twisted logic and outright malice behind that. A state based on freedom, democracy, and the rule of law that was founded so Jews can flourish as Jews and seek shelter from the shadow of the worst racist experiment in history. That is condemned. And that condemnation is masked in the language of anti-racism. It is nothing short of sickening. But this is the face of the new anti-Semitism. Now, I would say any way you cut it, these are great words, words that ring with a depth of truth. And there's few people in the world today that are willing to say them. So thank God for Prime Minister Harper, thank God for his visit to Israel, thank God for Canada's support of Israel, and may that support continue unwavering for many decades to come. Shabbat Shalom.